Good evening, all. Welcome to FMA Discussion episode. This is episode 259, and tonight, folks, is going to be more theme-oriented. We're going to be discussing FMA schools. Do we need more? We're going to cover why. We're going to cover status quo. We're going to cover how we can improve on status quo and how to go about it. And my guests tonight have been on before, and I think these guys have just done a phenomenal job with their schools. They run exclusively FMA schools and just done incredible. And I'm going to be bringing them up right now. And please welcome, we have Guro Ace and Datu Tim Hartman. So I want to welcome you both for coming on. You've both been on here. So folks have not seen episode 241 was with Guro Ace. It was incredible. For Datu Tim, he's been on twice, so he's getting frequent flyer miles. He's been on episode 189 and episode 83. So folks, if you would like to go see those, and those were more exclusively on their journey. Again, tonight is going to be more theme oriented. So if you want to get their history as far as their tenure, what they've done in the community and background, I would definitely reference those episodes. Again, tonight we're not going to be covering that. We've covered that before previously with them. And again, for tonight, the topic is, does FMA need more academies that teach FMA exclusively? And I think these gentlemen have done a tremendous job, very successful schools, and we're going to go how they did it and why the status quo. So first, we talked about this in the test run, Guro Ace, and I thought you brought up a good point. So just, let's define, what is a full-time FMA school exclusively?
Full-time FMA school, at least in my opinion, it's not the one class a week for 2 hours in the park, although that could actually constitute the location. But I think one of the things in contention in the past has been, it's a karate school with a little bit of Kali. It's a Taekwondo school with a little Kali, and you can't really claim that to be a full-time school. So one of them has to be there has to be a minimum number of offerings to the public that they can be able to take that particular course at any given time. It's not just in the summertime when it's warm outside or just online. That wouldn't constitute a full-time school. But even some schools that may have multi-curriculum, that it is the majority that is being offered. So to say I have 24 classes offered per week and 2 of them are Kali, that would not be a full-time. So we can have that debate. Is it 51% that's being offered from that menu and up would now make that full-time academy, the majority being Filipino martial arts being offered to the public? Maybe it's more. We can have some comments listed for something like that, but that's just my idea, that there's a minimum number of classes offered. And then there's that debate that who is it offered to? Is it just for adults, just for kids? Is it for everybody? So I do believe a full-time academy should have classes for kids, classes for adults, the ability of having privates for those who can't be able to afford it, maybe even a certain level of flexibility of time, because the average school might only have the worst time slots at night. And then that's why some college schools don't grow. And it's very hard to call that a full-time anything when you have those particular conditions. But that's it for me. You need a certain number of hours, minimum number of agreeable classes that is easily considered the majority of what's being offered. If not, of course, being a standalone program, it's FMA, 100% of the time. But I think a majority percentage qualifies for that.
Right on. And Datu Tim, what say you?
Okay. Well, first of all, hello everyone who's logging in.
There's a ton
of people who are watching out here. Thanks for listening and donating, taking your time out on the Sunday night when you can be hanging out with family and stuff. And then I see we got somebody from Frankfurt, Germany logging in. So that's like real commitment, because that's real AM early, because they're like 6 hours ahead of us.
6 hours. We got Royce, Brett, Howard. Yeah. Oh my gosh. 2 on Apollo.
2 on Apollo.
Your wife, Mike.
Almost a
Yeah, folks. Thank you. Well, Datu said, about 20 already watching. Woo.
So I've got a very defined way of things, and maybe it's because of, my German heritage or the way I was brought up in their school systems. So for me, a full-time academy, period, I look at there's clubs and training programs, And then there's full and part-time schools. So training, okay, if you're training out of somebody else's facility, a rec center, a gym, etc., like a lot of us started that way, your backyard, that's a program or club. You know, as far as a school goes, for me, can it support its bills by itself? So whether full-time school versus part-time. Part-time means the owner has a day job. Okay. I was a part-time school owner for a long time, even though it may have full-time hours. But the thing is, can the entity pay its own bills in a standalone rental spot? You know, so that's a big thing for me. So if you're teaching out of somebody else's karate school, you don't have a school. You're teaching at somebody's school. You don't have a school if you're in a rec center. You don't have a school if you're in your church. These are all the things that I did. And my definition changed over the years after I got a bigger education. Part-time school, you have a day job. You don't look to make money off the school, but you wanted a nice facility and you're able to commit to it. I started in my backyard and I ended up in my own spot because I hated being at the mercy of the people around me to give me scrap time on the floor. A full-time professional school, well, I have no intention on being a school owner, doing this as a living. I was able to take my passion and turn it into a profession. And now I provide not only for me, but from my family doing martial arts. Now, to me, that's professional. Now, some may disagree and, you know, they're all right. They're allowed to have their opinion. I disagree. And on this show, I'm going to warn everyone, I'm not going to be nice about it. I'm talking about facts because if we're looking at the future of what we're doing, we got to get rid of all this ego bullshit and go right into what we need to do. Now, if you're doing this personally, just for personal, you just like doing martial arts, then this episode means nothing to you. But if we're worried about the art going on beyond us, which is a big portion of what I'm doing, then we need to think on how to get the next generation doing this. And the park's not going to do it. Once the masters go, the arts die, and we'll talk about that in the show.
Very true, and we're definitely going to address that. Like
when it comes to school, can it support itself? That's the thing. Whether it's a part-time school, and I know there's a whole bunch of good FMA part-time schools, so that people have their own jobs, so they don't have to make. They can do whatever they want. They got disposable income. Maybe they can even pay for the club out of their own pocket. But for me, a school needs to pay for itself, and that would be a part-time school. And then when it pays for the instructor, that's when it becomes a full-time school.
Yeah. No. I think you both addressed that very, very well and agree. And folks, again, key point. If there's reason why I'm doing this episode with these gentlemen is because FMA is not going to grow on its own. And so, so here we are.
Ace was right on that. The other thing too is, you know, how do you teach? A school that offers FMA is not an FMA school. So, I mean, that's the big point, you know, and that for everything. I've had a Brazilian. I was one of the first guys in the area to have a BJJ program in my school. We were not a BJJ school. We were an FMA school that had a BJJ program. Gotcha. And that's what we have to discern the difference of. So full-time school means everything starts with FMA and ends with other things. It doesn't. FMA is not the leftover. It is the primary core, and all other things are sacrificed for FMA, not the FMA getting sacrificed for other programs.
No, well said, both of you. So Guru Ace, you know, currently I've identified 5 schools. Now, and folks that are watching, if there's more, that's my mistake. I'm just going based on what I know. I'm not saying 5 is absolute, but we have 5 schools that we know. Why so few?
I think it's that exactly what Dr. Tim said. They're first of all, their definition could alter their reality, right? If there's a BJJ school that offers Kali, they're thinking, I'm offering Kali to the public. Why am I not including in the mix? Et cetera, et cetera. But things get sacrificed when it's being offered. What are you known for in the area? What does the community understand that you actually provide? And the analogy that we always said is FMA for many, many years has always been the side dish, not the entree. At some point, that has to be the thing. When you walk in and they say, what do you offer? What is the one thing that they say that you offer? And for a lot of people, Filipino martial arts was not the first thing they did.
Right.
So therefore, if they did something else that inherently created academies, then that was the thing that they had, and they were not going to change. I know I'm definitely an exception to that. Change what we originally offered to the public, what we spent years developing ourselves to be, and that becomes a little bit of what our ground is. Our grounded base becomes a thing that we had done longer than FMA. So until more people start with FMA in their journey, and I'm not saying that's deterring someone from opening, but it definitely makes them feel like that's the side thing that supplements what they're doing, as opposed to, I'm going to open up a Filipino martial arts school. And real quick, this is a really long answer, but I'm going to give you this one thing. If you started FMA and your teacher didn't have a school, it would never be in your head that would be something that you would do. It is so strange that the white belt in Taekwondo, why is it so far-fetched for that person to one day open a Taekwondo school? Kung Fu. Listen, go back a little bit. How weird would it have been to have a BJJ academy? That was not the thing that you commonly found.
No, absolutely
anywhere.
Not. No,
but there needed to be some sort of explosion. There needed to be something that taught a little bit of the public, which still the public doesn't exactly know what BJJ is. Let's be honest about that.
Yeah.
Right. But I think we learned so much from our teacher to a fault that we're like, well, if they didn't do that, I'm not going to do that.
No.
So we actually do less.
Yeah.
Because there was a comment that was placed before where it's like we want our students to exceed us, but technically we build a ceiling. And on certain levels, we actually discourage them to do certain things, because if we didn't do it, that's not achievable. So that's an answer that can keep going on. But I'm going to pause there for a second, because I think that's it. If our teacher didn't have it, and there's so few full-time academies, if my teacher didn't do it, why would I do it?
No.
I'm just going to do what they do, or at least a percentage of what they did. Anything else would almost be disrespectful to a certain extent.
That was well put, especially. That was well put. The modeling, definitely, there's an aspect of modeling, which we're going to get into too as well. But so, same question, Datu Tim. So
Ace nailed it. I'm going to expand. So let's put it this way. Here's a question. So I want to hear from both of you on this one before I go. Do you have a standalone program? Now, before you answer that, what's a standalone program? Okay, when someone comes to your club, it needs to be accessible for men, women, and children. And there needs to be a perceived need for this. So there's nothing wrong with teaching sticks, knives, and swords. All right. But can you teach open hand combatives? Those are the needs for the states. Okay, when we take a martial art and transplant it, it changes to adapt to its environment. Now, here's the question. Do you have standalone programs in your FMA?
No, because I'm not currently included. So I would say no for me.
And there's a lot of people out there that are that way. So I've done a lot of martial arts. I'm not certified, but I've got a lot of friends that do a lot of different things. So when I say these things, I'm very particular about what I'm certified in. But correct me if I'm wrong on any of these. I don't know that these following arts do open hand combatives. Not to say, well, this is a number 1 strike and this is a number 2 strike open hand and it all translates, because that bullshit only goes so far. All right. The thing here is Serrata, Lightning Scientific, Balintawak, I think Dulce Paris might have an open hand department, so we'll stay away from Dulce Paris.
Dulce Paris has an open hand.
Bahalana, otherwise known as OGE, whether you're talking about the other families of it. Anayan Eskrima, I'm not sure about that. So those arts there, do we know of any of those? I think Dulce Paris has an open hand element to it.
They do.
But besides that, what about, do any of those have open hand systems to teach people?
The one I know for sure is Dulce Paris. I don't want to speak out of turn on the other ones.
I do Balintawak. I've been doing it for over 20 years. I know the answer to that. There are no open hand combatives in Balintawak. Yeah. Every time I've been around Serrata people, I've never seen them do anything open hand.
Yeah.
I'm very good friends with Michael Haron. I also know some of the other guys in Stockton, and I've never seen them do open hand combatives that could be traced to Bahalana.
Yeah.
What's very common in our industry, and this is actually the thing that made Remy big, Remy Praces, Remy did it as the art within your art. So he built on what you already had. But I think the problem in some Filipino systems, you're expected to go out and get open hand combatives because they don't have them. And if your system can't offer that, they're going to go to a club that can.
100%.
That's a big problem. So if you don't have a standalone program, not a complete program, because, there's difference between a complete fighter, as we know, everyone's going to talk about UFCs, but we got to talk about the norm, not the exception. So in the norm, it might be a complete system for its field of study, but is it a standalone program that can service anybody walking through that door, man, woman, or child, for their needs, not for what their desires are.
Right, right.
So that's a big problem. And I think most Filipino systems that I see out there are not complete. They're only weapon, and that's one of the problems.
No, I think that's fair. That's fair. Guro Ace, what do you say on that?
Well, that's an evolution question, right? That's the whole, well, if my teacher showed it to me or didn't show it to me, do I offer it to my students? In my class, it's an hour and a half to 2 hours long, but I don't have time to do the empty hand. I want to show them the stick. So either that is, I'm going to go to the modeling again. That's not what my teacher taught me. Maybe because this was the second, third, fourth art again that we did. So we go in there, our teacher knows we can punch and kick, or maybe their assumption is. So they're going to try and get, and I'm talking about a more traditional way, right? They taught you in the backyard, you went to a seminar and there was a specific topic in the seminar. So there's two ways to look at it: how we learned it and how we deploy it versus what are we willing to do in this full-time academy. And I think that's another reason why we should have a full-time academy, because now there is this luxury of time to work with students to expand on that curriculum that maybe we learned, but we won't show it there. It's got to be in a specialized seminar to show it. Right. Now, I'm not disagreeing with Datu. I have not trained those other arts. So if those other arts don't present it, they don't present it. But I could only speak in behalf of what's going on these mats and what's going on in the schools that I'm going. So now it's a matter of are people blending, but they're still bringing it out as the FMA, because that is certainly a need in a full-time academy. That's why it's not BJJ with some stick class at the end. It is FMA, it's Filipino martial arts that addresses grappling and empty hand and striking and all these other things, right, which my banners to the right of me explicitly, categorize for the person that's brand new or the people that's been here. Why is it on the wall? Because it means I promise to show that to you within this one system without having to jump into another system. No disrespect to others, but I would like them to stay within that system and say, there's a potential answer to the question that you were asking, and it could lie right here. And again, this is because of the full-time academy. Part-time, I might not even think I could address it. So that's another compelling reason why to have the full-time academy, not just for the student, but for that instructor to keep searching or keep learning. Yeah, they don't stop, and they're like, I got really good because I was the best stick sparring guy in the room. But then when people start asking you that question as a full-time academy, there's only so many times that you're going to lie to yourself and be like, I need to go and be a student again, which we should never lose that. If your teachers are available to you, get that information, whether it's for preservation or it's to be able to make that even better, because our mind is now we are teaching it and training it to so many other bodies, and we have to take it to another level of that. Some guys, our grappling is okay, but if a guy's superb, we got to make sure ours works within that. We're just not the best grappler in the room. It gets challenged. We're not just the best athletic person who can move and box. We have to bring those people in to see how that would be able to play. And a lot of times when it's very, very part-time or that 1 or 2 hours a week, we don't even get to address those. But in full-time academies, that student that has retention, if you don't bring it up, they're going to bring it up. And then we're going to find out what happens to that system. Yeah, then how long that school, you better start making friends with other schools and be like, you got to help my student now because I can't teach them this.
Yeah, and that's not going to look good. It's going to be a very noticeable void that you didn't address. Now you're scrambling to address it, and yeah. So, Dr. Tim, there's many reasons, and I want you guys to both answer this. But just what are some of the reasons for reluctance for folks to go ahead and try to exclusively open an FMA school?
I think the last topic was a big part of it. They don't have the material to do it. They don't have a standalone program. Listen, and to go back a little what we were saying there, I've been to the Philippines 7-8 times. There are systems that don't do open hand combatives, and that's fine if you just want to teach. The problem is if your system is like fencing or kendo, it's not going to go farther. Now, that might mean you need to have a marriage between some kind of open hand combatives, teaching some basic boxing or something, blending a little karate or taekwondo to give them that foundation, learn a little stuff, because, at the end of the day, Filipinos were very, very good at seeing something that works and adapting it. They can argue whether or not Filipino martial arts is European. I don't agree with that topic. But to me, I think the Espada Daga may have been European influenced. We know Panantukan is not Filipino. It's Western boxing that they've adapted and
Western
people,
creation. Yeah.
So when everyone talks about the argument of Panantukan with an A or a U, I'm near Canada, so it's Canada, eh? If you want to say Suntankan and all this other crap, guess what? It's still Western boxing. The Filipinos are the most ingenuity. They are phenomenal engineers. Yeah. When I was at Ernesto's camp, the Poles showed up. They needed. They were missing the Polish were there, and didn't have enough beach houses. There was just a stone pad. By the end of the day, there was a full house with electricity built around that stone pad and their luggage. The things they do, the way they approach, they're so creative. Filipino martial arts is really Jeet Kune Do before the brand of Jeet Kune Do got out there. I mean, Professor was traveling the islands. He created Modernese in 1957. When did Jeet Kune Do put the Tao together? In the 60s, 70s?
Late 60s. I've always argued that. The 5 waves attacks. The Filipinos had 5 waves attacks long.
No. That's bullshit. That's fencing. Get over it. The problem is people read Bruce's book. No, that's not offensive. People read Bruce's books, and it's his notes, and he never referenced where he did stuff. He didn't create attack by combination attack, single direct attack.
No, I'm not saying create him. I'm saying he was a prolific, iconic figure who made it very popular. Those 5.
Oh yeah, no, he was the first to open.
Yeah, that was my point.
And
my point is
credit for that, but
yeah, I mean,
he didn't create anything. And were doing it long before them.
No, I totally agree with you. Like if Illustrisimo was an iconic figure, I mean, he was doing the 5.
Yeah.
All that. But yeah, much to your point, I see what you're saying.
So as far as why people don't do this, fear. Like I said, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it today because I'm afraid that. Okay, Remy died. The art took a big hit. Ernesto died. The art took a big hit. Why did they die? Why when Yip Man died, the art kept going? Why when Parker died, the art kept going? Because they were physical schools. Why is Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu? They had schools in Brazil. That's why it got popular. As A said earlier, if there isn't a school. Now, I started in a full-time modern Arnie school run by John Bryant, and Remy was a silent partner of it. So that's what I knew. And like I said, if you ever here's the problem with most things. If you're a dabbler, when the head guy dies, the art's going to die. It's going to get absorbed. Here's what happened in Modern East. Remy died, and a lot of people said, I was there for Remy. They saw politics. They wanted, you know what? I got the material. I'm going to absorb it in my karate or my taekwondo, fill in the blanks, and I have the material because Remy was about sharing the material. If you cross-train the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and add it to what you're doing, and you're not branding it as BJJ, it doesn't help BJJ's gene pool. You've just supplemented what you were doing. And that's the problem with FMA. It's a secondary or tertiary art. So when all else fails, you go back to what you're normally doing, what you're making your money at. I mean, Ace is the only guy I know of that has switched streams from what he was doing to embrace FMA. Boom!
Snap.
Drop the Kamagon. Not the Kamagon.
So Guru Ace, on that, we touched on a few things, fear, no modeling, but why the reluctance of same question of some to even attempt to even do this?
Man, analysis paralysis. You want to, how many schools are out there? Only this many? Well, maybe it won't work. Stop. Right? It worked for the people who didn't listen to that kind of a data, because if you're looking at that data, no one should ever open up a restaurant. Nobody should, sing. Nobody should do what, I mean, listen, at the end of the day, ignorance is kind of bliss. Now, background for me is I didn't know any better to not do that. Why, what was the biggest risk that would happen?
Interesting.
The training that I'm having would get paid for because I have a business. That's a whole nother aspect of it, right? Like, is the thing that you do really a hobby? Let's just look into it, right? Is it just a thing you like, or you're trying to help other people? The ability of trying to be, and this might sound a little bit weird, but this is actually me. So it's like, I want to help people. I want to serve other people. Sacrifices will have to be made for that to happen. If that means I have to learn something, let's say it's business, if I have to do things like marketing, if I have to work with kids, even if they're 5 years old, if it's to be able to have a greater good to it, you're willing to do it. And listen, I don't know everybody else's life, but the thing that stops you is actually a career. Are you a career martial artist? Do you plan on being a career martial artist? Or is this the thing that you want to do 1 or 2 hours a week or a couple hours at the end of the month? And it is a decision. People decide to go to a specific college because they went to it once. They toured it once, or maybe they show brochure. They stay there for 4 years. They decide on a career based on that. And they may or may not have even known someone in that career when they chose that path. We have access today that we never had access before. We have the ability to be able to see success. And a lot of people who has succeeded in their own industry sought mentorship in people outside their industry to make success in their industry. Because sometimes the people in their industry doesn't want to help you. Does that make sense? Right? Like if I want to be, I don't know, I want to screen t-shirts for a living. I can't go to the guy that I work for. Hey, how you doing? I want to do my own thing. That guy might not want to help you.
Yeah.
The guy locally, but you know what? It's so awesome. It's so amazing, but not surprising how many people will like a post when they're on the other side of the United States, but the guy next door to you doesn't necessarily comment.
He doesn't want to even see it.
Right? So I think that has a little bit of play to it, because is the fear, if we really listen to fear, it's because someone's convincing you not to do it. How many people in your family, because a lot of things can never be done without proper support, right? If your family members, you're at a certain age, your parents are supporting it or they're not. Your wife or girlfriend is supporting it or not. Your kids are telling you, there's a certain point when you start really, I'll use the word late in the game, though that's a force of gravity that you're always trying to pull against, as opposed to you're working along with the tides, and then you're going along with that because you surround yourself around people who really want to do that. Otherwise, you're always mad and you're blaming other people why it didn't happen also. I always wanted to do this, but this other guy, this person and that other guy. We have to use Kali's strategy in some of the things that we do, right? You got to apply it more than the guy in front of you. It's got to be on the rent that's supposed to happen. Because your opponent is never always just this sentient opponent. That opponent is every single thing. Talk to any entrepreneur. Because is it really a full-time academy question, or is it an entrepreneurship question?
You guys are nailing this, man. This is going to be a blockbuster. I just want to, folks, if you are watching, please tell us where you're watching from. Smash that like button. These guys are just getting heavily into it. And folks, I just want to prepare you. If we do not get, unfortunately, we need to end at 8:30 tonight due to engagements from Datu. However, if we do not get through, I guarantee you there will be a second part to this, or third, depending on the need. So if we don't get through everything, promise you, there will be a part 2 at least. So next question, Datu. So this kind of came out in the test run, and it's come out before, and I know you've heard me speak on this so this is going to be no stranger to you. You know, this whole thing of getting out of the mindset, the backyard mentality, you know, is that hindering? Is it kind of handicapping our community? You know, what say you on that?
Well, the backyard mindset is not FMA, it's martial arts. Unfortunately, it is a culture in FMA because when you go to the Philippines, I only knew of 2 facilities, and one was Arnis Village with Rodel de Guck, which closed down. And then after he built his stick fighting or stick making facility, he built a dojo on the premises, or a studio, or whatever you want to call it. But it's not a full-time academy. It's an academy at his place for out-of-town visitors. But he still teaches out of the park. The only other place I know in the Philippines that is a full-time, is the Dulce Pares. I'm not sure about the Yao Yan gyms. I'm not sure if it's a gym or stuff like that. But when we talk FMA, people forget about Sikran, Kuntao, Yao Yan. They forget about all the open hand systems. And the problem is our brand is what hurt us. But if like we go back to the basics, if you've only ever trained this way, you'll only ever think of teaching that way. And I think that's the thing that hurts you. Like I said, you go to the Philippines, you go to Luneta Park in Manila, and you go Luneta during the day, you'll see a lot of cool shit. And then there's Luneta at night, which is a nighttime experience. Like the song goes, the freaks come out at night. So, but no one, I mean, okay, and when I say these things, here we got to think about the norm, not the exception. Okay? Because I'll sit there and go, well, what if someone does this? I mean, like in Modernist, I made the comment on one of our shows on FMA Talk. Hey, Modernist people don't fight. And Joe Rebello says, don't tell that to Doug Pierre. Remy had 5,000 to 10,000 students. Maybe 80 of them fought, and 60 of them were mine while he was alive. That's nothing. That's not even what we're talking about. You know, less than 100 out of 5,000 to 10,000. Modernist people don't fight. But someone will talk about one little thing that happened and go, oh, there's the exception. You know, oh, look, you got to worry about double knife fighting. Why? Because someone found a police footage of one guy happened to have 2 knives in his hands. Well, what are the percentages of that to happen? We got to think the norm, not the exception. And that's with everything, not just the combatives, but everything we think about. And so I you know, if no one's doing anything to change the backyard, okay, no one's thinking about the future because no one thinks their teacher's going to die. I've lost 3 of my teachers, actually 3 of my direct instructors, 4 including Grandmaster Geronimo. I was a direct and personal student of Remy Preces. He's gone. Personal student of Ernesto Preces. Guess what? He's gone. Ted Buat, the successor of Anshans Balinskwa. He's gone.
Yeah.
Okay. And you know, and each of those, none of them had academies. They all trained personal, or they all backyard type stuff in the States. And they all fell apart. And they had this backyard mentality, and no one never talked about it because, you know what? When these guys came over to do seminar, well, Remy lived here. I don't want to say this the wrong way, but the check cleared, so they didn't give a shit. And I'm not saying they didn't care about their students.
No, I get you though. Yeah.
You know, they wanted their students to succeed. Ted Buat, yes. Sam Buat is not the guy. Sam Buat did pass away
just recently, right?
But he wasn't my teacher. He was just my friend.
Yeah.
Ted Buat used to teach for Anshan Bakan when he wasn't in the club. So, but yes, Sam did die. But I'm talking about we'll get it. Yeah. But the thing here is, when an instructor comes in, they don't know to ask. When I teach seminars, if I did one for Ace, I go, hey, how's things going here? Oh, student retention. Hey, listen, I've been trying this marketing thing at my school. It's been really crushing it. You might want to consider X, Y, Z. Oh, cool. What are you doing? I mean, and I listen because I don't believe the first business seminar thing we did here, which I didn't like the way it turned out. When the person made a comment about, oh, if you don't make a certain amount of money, I don't listen. I had one of my guys make a comment to me. Financially, he's never done as good as me, but he had a great idea with my fitness kickboxing, running him as courses versus all year round. And it's blown up ever since. I used to do it all year round. No, but I listen to everybody. I share with everybody because I understand that we're in this together. It was one of my guys closed with my school, and I figured out when he closed his school and he had me in for seminars and stuff like that, I lost 10K. And that's when I started going, wow, and this is how I provide for my family. What could I have done to change that? Oh, I could have given him some mentorship to help keep his school open. And I gave him some stuff, but by the time he asked, it was too late, and it was working, but it was like putting a Band-Aid on the sucking chest wound. So when the instructors would come and do things, they don't know our business. You know, I mean, okay, what would Remy Praces, Wally J, or Remy Praces, Ernesto Praces, Ted Buat, Grand Tuhan Gahe, what would these guys know about running martial arts schools in the States?
I'm guessing not much.
Well, how do they know how to file our taxes? How do they know about retaining programs? What about software? And I'm not saying anything negative about them.
No. Yeah, I see your point. Yeah.
So I think, they couldn't offer that support. But if you wanted to learn how to teach a seminar, these guys were great at it. They were excellent at it, the best at it, and still are with Tuan, with GT.
So Guro Ace, same thing. I mean, like, how do we get out of that mentality? Or, I mean, and again, folks, I just want to understand too. I'm not saying backyard's bad, so I don't want to get that misconstrued. There's obviously value in that, depending on the approach, the reasoning, and all that. So I don't want to get that misconstrued. That I'm completely downplaying it or giving a negative connotation to it. But as far as the overall growth in our community for our schools, I think it hinders. So what say on you as far as Guro Ace on that?
So here's the thing. Can I ask you to give me the 30-second version of what's the backyard mentality? Just to make sure I'm on point.
Okay, so I mean, like, you basically resign to the fact that you're just going to teach, have a small group of students in your backyard, garage, and all that. You're not really looking beyond that lens. You're kind of content with it. You're trying to keep everything.
So a lot of our goals are based upon what our teacher sets for us. Does that make sense? If I want to, I like using analogies outside of it because sometimes when we talk in it, we get offended. But if we talk outside of it, then we're like, oh, well, yeah, that makes sense, right? If I went to a fitness coach and they said, I need you to do this, we tend to do it. If we wind up training in this backyard mentality, but one of the requirements to be this title called Guro, which is to teach people, and one of the things that you don't have to do to become a Guro is teach lots of people, why would that be part of any mindset, backyard or otherwise? Now, I want to be an advanced level. Let's call it a 2nd degree, 3rd degree, name your Filipino title there. Does that mean you have to teach even more people? Does that mean, as a requirement, we need to create more instructors? If that has nothing to do with you getting your rank, that is what affecting our mentality. Our mentality is being shaped by our teachers. If my teachers say, you're going to get stuck in this mentality, we don't even know what they're talking about because we can't predict the future. We're just a student. So I'm going to go off in this really quick tangent because I think it's sort of relevant. Prior to this, I've been kind of known in doing some Muay Thai, things like that. And I was invited to a camp years ago called Fairtex. Pretty well-known place, right? And it was run, not the Thailand one, but it was on the West Coast there. And, one of my close friends, my trainer, et cetera, unfortunately, you said about teachers not being here, so he had passed away. He had this Muay Thai instructor certification and training and blah, blah, blah. And took me in, it was amazing. And he took me, I don't know why he took just me. He took me aside and goes, it's awesome, right? And I go, for what? I wasn't being mean. I go, for what? And he goes, as an instructor certification. I go, how does this, because they were running, hitting bags, right? Sparring. I go, everything that you're doing is not going to help those guys run a program. None of those things that you're asking them and you're willing to give them a certification is going to give them tools to go, because that's what it was. People were flying from everywhere to go train. And it wasn't for a week. This was a lot of training, but it was almost like fighter training. It was student training. It wasn't instructor training. And it certainly wasn't school operation training. And I called him out on that. And then shortly after that, I became director of operations, curriculum, and opening development. Because here's the thing: don't open your mouth if you don't have a solution either. If he's going to,
right. If you can't back up,
I'm going to say I don't get it. I don't get what this weekend was about. These people are spending money. These people are trusting you, and there was a name. I'm going to go back with this name to do what? To do the advanced fighter training. That's what you were doing the whole time, was fighting world champions. Yeah. And you're going to go back home, and there's this brand new person who barely knows, who, let's face facts, doesn't know how to wrap their hands. What are you going to do with them? Nothing that came from that weekend was what you were going to apply back home. So, and again, I'm not trying to be offensive. I'm just calling what happened in my own experience.
No, right? I don't think anybody.
If we can go to the Philippines 50 times and every single of those conversations, let's say none of those conversations was, so how are your students going back home? What are the challenges you're having with teaching these students? When are those students going to get to a certain level? Because now we might want to compress time, right? When I say compress time, it goes, listen, you've had the same 5 guys, right? Backyard mentality. You've had the same 5 guys coming to you, and they're learning from you every day. Great. But they have no leadership skills, because every time they come in, they're trying to learn from you. They're not helping anybody else. They're just coming in to learn in. So here's a question for the panel. Thousands and thousands of kids train martial arts in America, right? And those same thousands and thousands of kids will quit by the time they go to college. Why? Because they're told, line up, do these drills, warm up, kick, et cetera, et cetera. Now it's time to go to college. I quit martial arts. Why? Because my school's not here. You don't know how to do a warm up. You don't know. You should be the one running your clubs in college, but because your leader isn't there, you never got the leadership skills to actually run something. And you've been there for 5, 10, 15 years, because nobody said you should go out there and run a club, open a club. You should work with other people. This whole thing behind me of learn to teach, teach to learn is not predicated on anything other than your willingness to share it with at least one more person.
Wow.
If you don't have the willingness to share it to anyone else, Datu Tim now just became Nostradamus. Everything will just come to a close. That's my definition of watering it down. There used to be this many people. Now there's this many people. The only way to combat that is to change that funnel. How do you change that funnel? Open it up more to the community. Don't make it the thing that's the last thing of the night that no one would ever choose.
Right. That's not watering it down.
And then you're going to also change what it is. Oh, do our thematic weapons class for a couple months. And then a couple years later, oh, by the way, that was called Kali. Because there's nothing in that part-time school that actually says that this is Kali, right? It's, you're part of this federation, that federation association. So I just wanted to share that with you with regards to the backyard mentality, because you can have a backyard person tell you, you need to go out there and.
Oh, right. You know, there, I got you. Yeah. I think that was incredible.
At least make that part of, you know, this title, because a karate black belt doesn't always mean you're a sensei, right? Let's just face facts. But we're literally talking about this Guro title. What do you need to do to be a teacher? I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just saying we're all using that title.
Right. What do you need to do?
If we're going to use the word Guro, who the heck are you teaching? The same 5 guys? Because just as much as you can lose your teachers, you can lose your students to health, etc. So those 5 guys that you taught, any single one of them could have, you know, a car accident. Now those guys are also gone too.
No. I mean,
so that's what I mean by compressing time.
I think it was excellent what you brought up about that weekend that you, and like, instead of like, he actually threw you in that position. That's just, I think that's like one of the most incredible things I've heard on an interview that you, I'm just making sure, folks, guys, that I didn't miss any questions is all. Because I'm going to get to the next one. Folks, it looks like we're going to be definitely my guess doing a part 2 if I had to guess. But at any rate, next. Actually, Dr. Tim, same thing. No, your answer. So let's go on to next. And Tim, and this, you guys kind of both brought this up as far as the intimidation, or the fear factor, and all that, as far as attempting to do it. But more, with FMA, I think that is going to go farther beyond, like, okay, well, here, I want you to open up a karate school, or I want you to do a BJJ or all that. But with FMA, I think the fear intimidation can actually go a little farther along based on the low numbers we have. So, Dr. Tim, what do you have to say on that?
I was actually reading Chris's comment here on the side. He's got a long ass.
That's the longest reply I've ever seen on an interview.
Yeah. So why don't we address that, and then you can hit me on that again, because I was actually trying to catch up on that one.
So what basically is that I think, kind of, when it comes to FMA schools, I think the fear and intimidation factor is more prevalent than as opposed to if I was going to open a Taekwondo school or something like that. And I wanted to know where you don't have to be sorry, Chris. I just wanted, what's your feeling on that?
So, Chris, I just sent you a friend request, brother. As far, let's first, it's not. It's. I think it's more ego. Listen, FMA is definitely has a machismo kind of mindset there. No one likes admitting when they don't know something. So, okay, listen. How do we get into this? I'll tell you exactly let me give you my story. I went and did martial arts, and my instructor said, "Hey, you're going to test for your yellow belt." Oh, I didn't think I was ready. And then who was on my test? Every freaking black belt in Buffalo for modern arnis, and wait for it, Remy Praces. So then he goes, all right, 6 months later, hey, we're going to this thing in Tennessee, and I'm 19, 20 years old. We're going to go down to the Mississippi summer camp. You want to come with? Okay. I didn't have a real job we're talking about, so I could go. I walk in the door to the house of the guy that was hosting us. I go, Tim, just walk right in. Walk in, there's professor. He goes, how are you doing, Tim? After not seeing him for 6 months, meeting him once. I'm like, this is the guy I'm going to hang with. I came back and got the instructor certificate from that camp. So I was Guro Tim. I went back. I started teaching. I eventually left my instructor, had a falling out. I didn't like some things. He was getting out of the business too, but I didn't like the way it was going. When I left, Grandmaster Remy reached out to me directly and said, if you want to continue, I will be your teacher. Great. And then I trained in all these places that I had to work around. I taught in my backyard. I taught in a Taekwondo school for a short period of time. I used to teach in my church where I was a youth counselor, and I kept fighting for all these different rooms. I taught into a gym that ended up closing in the middle of the night. Then I got my first office space, which was cheap as all hell. So if you're looking for space, office space, everybody. Also, Francis L. Dean and Associates. I do not get a kickback, but you need insurance. It's only about $500 a year.
I used to use them. They were good company.
Yeah, and no one's going to sue you until they do. So, and you know what? I've been sued. So, and they take good care of you. And then I kept building up from there. And then eventually I was in a position where I could do this full time. That wasn't the desire. I wanted to be a black belt, like I wanted to be a NASCAR driver, like I wanted to be an astronaut and a rock star. I didn't think this was going to happen. But the thing is, all along this time, this is the way I was taught. And I went in to get in my education. And I went and joined NAPMA and Maya and all these other things. And actually, Ace and I see each other at the Maya Super Show. So I'm assuming I'm going to see you there in July, Ace.
Yes, sir.
Okay, it'll be great. So, and the problem is with what we do, there's this big machismo type vibe, and people are scared of getting an education. I went in and joined these things and realized I don't know shit. I put a white belt on. I mean, there's the 4 pillars of what we do: martial art, martial sport, martial combat, and the one everyone forgets about, martial business. And even if you're doing this part-time or non-for-profit, if you're renting space, you got to pay the bills. You don't want to take out of your pocket.
Yeah.
So churches have corporate people taking care of them, because we've seen a whole bunch of them close down, But the thing here is people are afraid of what they don't know. Why do certain FMA styles don't fight? Well, if they fight in the tournament rules of WECAF, they're going to get their asses handed to them, because that style doesn't compete in that manner. Okay. Well, now what about, why don't you teach children? Well, I'm afraid, but they won't tell you that. Oh, our art is too deadly.
No, it's afraid. They have children. Yeah, absolutely.
Kids bite, though. Kids do bite. Just like
it's all about insecurity. Listen, I remember Ray Galan and I were talking. I was at his club. We did a tournament. Oh, you got the NATMA sticker on there. Yeah, I joined it, but no one came through the door. You do know that they send you monthly packets to teach you to be a better person in martial art business so you can advertise better. Joining NATMA doesn't bring people to your school. You have to open up the toolbook or the toolbox and use it. And people are lazy and want a quick fix. This is what it boils down to. No one wants to look weak, and they're lazy because, like you talked about women in martial arts. If women wanted to do martial arts, they'd be doing it. Just like all these women that say they want to lose weight. You know what? Oh, what do you mean it's more than 6 weeks? Oh, screw you. Everyone, there's not enough time in the day. No, there's 24 hours in the day. There's plenty of time to do everything we want to do. It's just, are you willing to make the sacrifices? And the problem is people are not willing to make the sacrifices. They talk about it, but they're not.
Sacrifice, laziness. Yeah.
Fear.
Yeah. I think all inclusive. No, 100%. Same question for you, Ruiz.
There's progressions in everything, because you always think about, well, how do you work with a student? How do you bring them up? You have instructors. How do you bring them up? Now you're talking about the academy and things like that. Fear has to be taken in different layers. So then it's not as bad. People would ask me in the striking, they're like, how do you get more involved in getting that new student to not be so scared of sparring? I'll be like, be a part of the feeding process. If you're holding a pad, you can see the hits. They're not hitting you. And instead of going from I'm kicking somebody to them kicking me, of course, that's what makes people fearful. There has to be a bridge somewhere in between that. Okay. So how do you jump from being this student to having this academy? And, Dr. Tim, there's a progression that he just said. He was just like, well, you can have a club, backyard group, but then what's that? Is that the end all? No, just like there's different degrees, you create those layers. So you're an individual, you're a student, you're a Lacan, you're this, and then your next level is I'm having a club, I'm having a quote unquote part-time sublease situation, I'm having full-time. You go through those layers with a game plan like you would have strategy in a fight. It's just the fight. You go through that. And, Tuan Apollo and I, we discuss these things quite a bit, because a lot of them come to us not as school owners now. A lot of them are like, I got nothing. I just want to train, but they tell us their goals. And that's the whole thing. You have to say, what do you want to do with this? Right? What are the benefits that they're looking for that? And, the site's called Art of Blade. So if you utilize Blade, BLADE, and you just say, listen, we need to be able to show them more than just, a number one angle. B, business. L, leadership. A, accelerated, compress the time. D, development. And E is the education. So the Blade program that we have for the instructors that enter into us is we have to go through that process of what is it they want, what are the short-term goals, what are the long-term. Hey, isn't this what you would be doing with a student? You should be doing this with your student to find out what they want, and this is what you're doing with your instructors. And when they go through this Blade program, I don't mean Blade with an edge. I'm talking about Blade, business training, leadership training, how to accelerate that, because you always have to stay on top of it in a faster amount of time to develop, because people will say, I used to train all the time before, but not now. And your education has to have an unending continuing education to that component to that. So to be able to say, hey, yes, you know what? You could be a student. You want to be an instructor. You might want to consider, our Art of Blade. And the Art of Blade has all of these other components, just like when Dr. Tim said, he goes, how come there's, some systems don't have an empty hand program? You see that ahead of time, or that ahead of time. Or was that secret and be like, hey, I've been here for years. Didn't know it, didn't even offer it. So we can't have these surprises. You have to be a little bit forward thinking. You have to treat it like anything else. Hey, I want to go to college. Why? What am I going to do? What am I going to make? Where am I going to get that job? You go through that whole process, But we're not scared when we do that for that other thing. So therefore, that mindset shift has to apply here as well. And sometimes they just need a trusted person to guide them through that. And this goes back to our responsibility of being a teacher, being a mentor, walking them through, and then and giving them the encouragement, because whoever has confidence, I mean, that's one of the pillars of why some people go to martial arts to begin with, because they feel like they need confidence.
Sure.
They didn't have it. Somebody's got to give it to you. So as teachers or influencers, right? Social media, things like as influencers, we have to encourage those people, because they will never believe they can do it.
Yeah.
We have to, if I don't have the answer, I can give you a resource. So he talked about Filipinos, right? Give us some electric tape and a paper clip. We can make some pretty amazing stuff, right? So if you don't have the resources, we become resourceful. By the nature of Filipino martial arts, its culture, become resourceful. Don't focus on the problem, focus on the solution. And then if you can't find a solution, expand your circle so those people can be able to help you. Just like if a student asks you a question, you don't know the answer, you don't have the answer right now.
Yeah.
You will have the answer. And that's for us to be able to keep digging, and that makes us worthy of being a teacher. And otherwise we're hiding ourselves because we don't want the hard questions. We don't want the hard obstacles. It's so much easier if I don't. Yeah, that is easier, but you're talking about like live stick sparring today. You're used to hard stuff. You're used to conflict.
Yeah.
So let's be consistent about that all the way across, because that's what they're looking to us for. But if we're not there, they're definitely not even going to look to us at all, period.
Right.
So.
Wow, on both of your accounts. Wow. Guys, I see your question, Nathan, and I believe Richard. I definitely see your questions. I wrote them down. I'm going to plug them in when we get to those areas. I just want you guys to know that I definitely got them. Wow, you guys are killing us.
By the way, I want to acknowledge all of the awesome guys that are here too.
Yeah.
Some of the best looking people.
Best looking people.
Right? You get better looking when you comment, by the way.
Jeez. There must be a lot of good looking people out there then, because there's a lot of comments.
Shout out to all the instructors that are here and those that are looking to be one too.
Yeah,
I see all your names. Thank you all for being here, and we all appreciate you.
Absolutely. Matter of fact, they were coming so fast. When they come in like this fast, I can't even keep up with them. But a lot of familiar names and all that. Yeah, again, to just piggyback off what Guro A said, I mean, much appreciated that you guys are here chiming in and commenting and all that. Okay. You kind of touched on this. We're going to go to you, Dr. Tim, but you kind of touched on this, Guro Ace. So commercialization and the stigma of it, the dogma or the negative connotation, it's going to be watered down.
Of course it is.
How do we change that perception?
Well, we got to understand the big scheme of things. What's the end goal? And anytime you teach more people, it's not going to keep the same quality as if it was one-on-one training. But there's things that you can do with bigger groups that you can't do with smaller groups. And there's the energy, so if you're looking this as a sprint, okay, so modern uses a belting system. Not everyone does, but there's levels. So I'm going to use the belting system mindset. Because people understand it whether you like it or not. If you train everything like black belt is the finish line, you're going to lose people left and right, and that's why schools die. Do you have a curriculum beyond? So I don't have it on my wall, but I have it on graphics. I have a bunch of big screen TVs in my school, which I have a link here. Well, actually, Dean has the link to show you what an FMA school could look like.
You want me to show it?
Well, if you're up for it. If you guys are, see that.
Yeah. I tell you, while you're answering, I'll pull it up. Sure.
There might be music in the background.
Oh, okay. Do you want me to?
Yeah, we'll play it. It'll only take about a minute and a half, 2 minutes.
All right, then you can finish answering. Sure.
Yeah.
All right, folks. Again, this is Dr. Tim's school, so check it out. You both got like very professional school. Guro Ace schools too. Is you never guess for an FMA school. Must be the wife's touch though, huh? Guro Ace. Holy. Folks, when we do part 2, we only owe it to Guro Ace. We have to show this school again.
Definitely.
Everybody, to Guro Ace, please just remind me of that. Although I got a pretty good memory, but we definitely have to show your school. In all fairness. Absolutely beautiful. Wow.
Awesome.
Kudos to you. Yeah. Jeez. Yeah, folks, again, we'll definitely show Guro Ace's school, which also was absolutely beautiful. Guro Ace's school too. So next one, we're definitely he's gonna send me a little clip, and we'll be sure to show you folks. But in the meantime, if you go to his previous episode, you'll get a glimpse of it.
Yeah. That's what an FMA school can look like. Now, it's not the best looking martial arts school out there. There's things I need to work on. But it's a 5,000 square foot facility. It used to be a banquet hall. I've got probably 2,500 square feet of tatami mats down. I've got a focus master. I've got all those heavy bags and bobs. It's not. There are no flags on the wall covering the holes in them. The electrical wiring is put together properly.
It's behind the walls.
It's behind the walls, and in the ceilings. But I mean, the thing is, we can have these things. We can have nice things. We're allowed to. And so I average 80 students a year inside. I have hybrid classes, so that where the big screen TV is where I do my classes. Mm-hmm. I probably have another 10 to 15 people who log in virtually from around the world during my classes. Okay. Their tuition's almost the same as the students in-house. And when they come to visit, they don't have to pay extra for normal group classes. And then we do seminars, camps. I just actually did a virtual seminar or hybrid where physical and virtual, and over 50 attendees participate in it. We can do
in Connecticut like a couple of weeks, right?
And then next week a week from tomorrow or yesterday, we're in Connecticut at Frank's, Schakowski's. But the thing is, I'm doing this in my club. We could all do this. Now, not everyone has that kind of reach, or you might not have a seminar. What works for Tim Hartman may not work for Dean, may not work for Ace, because we're individual people here. I've got a seminar career, and prior to COVID, I was doing 30 plus seminars a year. Well, now I've got people attending my classes without having to leave home. For the out of towners, that is. The silver lining in this COVID nonsense is people have now embraced technology that's been around for years. I've been doing virtual classes for years, but people poo-pooed it. But there's no reason why we can't do what everyone else is doing. At the end of the day, we are the only one that stands in our way. And yes, when you teach more people, it's not watering down anything. It's the sacrifice to get a big enough gene pool for the art to continue. That's what we got to remember. Everyone's going to sit there and say, well, it's going to water down the art. What do you mean? The quality students are going to go down. Well, if you train it like a finish line, yeah, you're right. I know a bunch of FMA systems that I've talked to their guys and, they've graduated. Well, what now what? Well, they've graduated. You mean you don't have any material beyond this? You just get better. Well, once you graduate, people are going to quit. I mean, listen, if you had completion of the art as one of the levels and you got completion of the art versus going to FQI, the level above it, Might you quit? Because you completed the art. Why do you have to go? Why do you have to get certified?
Right.
And if you're looking just to augment what you're doing, and these are things that I've talked to people about. And let me see. But I mean, the thing here is, there's no reason why we can't do this. And if we come up with an objection saying that the quality is going to go down, any system that has more people doing it, you sacrifice quality for quantity. You get that quantity because that increases the gene pool, so there's successors to go on beyond us. And if you train the martial art that black belt or instructor is the new white belt, and we have material beyond, that's a whole nother story. Now, but like with my Balintawak, unfortunately, there's only about 40 moves. It's like boxing. You can learn it in a year, but it takes a lifetime to master. Well, we're used to getting more stuff. Well, think about the education system. You graduate every grade. You graduate from kindergarten to first grade, to second grade, to third grade. So when people say, well, Americans like belts, no, it's in our DNA. It's in our culture. It's not about that we're belt happy, but we're about setting levels and then getting to the next level, a tangible thing versus, well, and one of the things that were on the picture there was my wall. I have a written curriculum. And when you know what you need to get, it makes it easier. So the problem is a lot of people are teaching off the top of their head, and they don't have good teaching skills. They teach to them. They don't teach to the people.
Or it's random. No outline whatsoever.
That's the problem with my Balintawak. I love my Balintawak. But Manung Ted, he goes, we don't write notes. We do it the original way. And he taught the one time, he goes, well, why are you doing the backup move for this? Because I've been doing this for 2 years. You didn't show me the preferred. If we would have had a manual, and I love my Balintawak and I love Manung Ted, but if we would have had a manual, we wouldn't have had this problem, would we?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying in his case, but in others, I've seen people make shit up on the fly, and they're so dishonest because as I've been doing Filipino martial arts since 1985, I can go and watch a seminar knowing someone's making shit up. Okay. Not innovating, making shit up.
Right.
And that's the problem because the problem is that the masters like Remy Praces, Bobby Tabuada, Leo Gahe, fill in the blanks, show that they can do a good business, and then everyone else wants to shortcut it back in the islands and make shit up. And they don't have the curriculum. They didn't do their study. They do it on their own. And then what happens is they get representatives over here that have been cheated, and they don't have stuff. But I'm on another tirade. But at the end of the day, Sam Bullock created a book. Yeah, that's not a curriculum, though.
Yeah, it's a book. Right.
I love Manung Sam, but at the end of the day, it's not a written curriculum because Anchan didn't do that. Villiuson created the groupings, and like Bobby Tabuada, Nick Elazar, and people like that use the grouping system. Ted Buat was the guy. He was the only one that was allowed to teach for Anchan when he was out of the club. But Bobby's been able to, who's farther generation down the road, but Bobby's been able to touch more people than either of them because he had a system that worked.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No. That's fine. I mean, I think it's all great. So, okay, we're at a transition here where so folks are listening. We've kind of identified thus far why we're not seeing status quo more than 5 or a few more, but more than 5 that we know of FMA schools that sold.
What are the 5?
What's that?
What are the 5? I mean, okay, so it's Ace and myself and Apollo. Those I know are full-time, and I'm talking, this is what we do as a business.
Right. Miguel.
Who? Oh, yeah, Miguel Ruby.
Mark Makita.
Is it? Or is it Chikundo?
It's supposed, again, don't go into this. Supposedly he teaches just FMA.
Okay. You're raising your hand there, Ace? You know something that I don't?
No, just really quick because it's my group. I know this. We have West Coast representation. They're doing 24 classes a week. That's all they do. So by your definition, they have all the hours. They have their own space. They pay their own bills. There's nothing else being offered.
Are they a part-time school?
I'm sorry?
Is it part-time where they have a day job?
No, it's full-time. That's all they do.
Oh, excellent. Excellent.
That's all they do. So we have Greg Cerise over in San Diego.
Okay.
Which part of that?
There's 6.
We have Michael Pack over in Texas. That's all they do. Now, you talk about dropping a hat. Michael Pack was a Taekwondo school. Switch it to be full Kali. That's all. That's what his school does. That's what it teaches. So again, this is why I had asked the original definition of what that is, because that could kind of work in there. And of course, Tuan Apollo, and getting more locations through the progress that I was talking about. Get some clubs going, move forward, get them to full-time academies. By the definition, we just we alerted to people. Because again, they can't have it a goal if they don't actually know what it means. And for them to be able to shoot for that creates a direct line now. You showed us such a beautiful school. And here's the thing, what we don't want to say is, isn't that a beautiful school for FMA? No, that's a beautiful school. Sure. That's the thing. We're making ourselves a niche of a niche of a niche. Yeah. And I did want to ask you a quick question, Guro Dean. When you use the word watered down, I'm going to be the guy again. Goes, but what does watered down mean? What is that? I'm going to ask you because I want to make a quick comment about that.
Yeah. So in other words, I'm not going to say his name. One of my instructors. Well, the problem with FMA today, it's getting watered down because people this and they're not smart. I mean, so when I hear
Datu Tim was talking about curriculum, so I think he was talking about curriculum being watered down. I don't know if that's what he was referencing.
No, I was saying I have a curriculum. Most people don't.
Most people don't.
I'm saying and making things.
I agree. It's raining outside, so now we're going to do this umbrella block. Right? Sorry. No. All right. So, Rudin, what do you consider as watering down? Because I want to make a quick comment about that, if possible.
I don't use the term, to be honest with you. Okay. So it's
in the context of the person who used the term.
Well, the context of the person who used the term is that overall today FMA is being watered down because it's turning more into sport, drills, and all that.
Is it?
I don't agree.
I'm not saying this is not.
I don't think they know what they're talking about.
The excuses that we give might not be, it's kind of like when we run a school, I think you could appreciate this. There'll be like, a lot of parents were saying, what do you mean a lot of parents? And they'll be like, one person said it.
Well, a bunch of people said this.
You see where I'm going?
Said this.
Now, here's the thing about commercialization that could be considered as watering down. They're like, well, when there's more students, they're not going to get the real stuff. So here's the solution. This goes back to my original part of the solution is, if you have a goal to be a teacher, I could have 50 people on the mat. Mrs. Jones, it is not about 50 people on the mat. It's about the instructor to student ratio. So if I have 50 people on the mat and I'm the only instructor on the mat, because the way it's set is I am the only one who knows anything, and I'm going to hold back the real martial arts training from anybody else. I'm the only one who could teach those 50 people. But if I have a true program, and the goal is to be able to reach other people and not just do the rep, but be able to teach how to share, how to properly train and grow in the martial arts. Man, it's almost like there's one instructor for every 6 students. Is that watered down if you have an instructor for every 6 students? Because I could do that on the mat, because I'll make sure that there are that many instructors working with whatever group it turns out to be. And I posted something on there, like one of the kids' classes out of a few kids that day. And I'm like, we have plenty of adults that were on the mat working with those kids, but it wasn't just one person being a counter, right? I call them professional counters. 1, 2, 3, everyone just do it. It doesn't matter, because nobody gets corrected. The whole point of having all of those people to become a guro, a lakan guro, whatever that turns out to be, is so that they can get experience working with all sorts of students, which is why it's the full-time academy. That person who only does law enforcement seminars has 0 experience working with a regular mom, working with, a 6-year-old kid. So you could almost say, it's like, I'm a guro in what? Well, in special forces training. But I don't know the others. I can't make this other person really good at self-defense because I have 0 experience in that department. Does that make sense? So from the watering down, that's very simple, because how many times can we go to an amazing fill in the blank instructor? They'll be like, there was 100 people there. Did anyone say, they watered it down? No, it was a great seminar. There was 50 people there. Datu, Tim, and yours, right? There's 100 people in another. There's 200. Nobody says that's a horrible thing. There were too many people there.
No, I totally agree with you. It's just interesting. Right? It's, the way it was presented to me. So it's not my ideology. That's not what I believe. But yeah.
No, but that's also a full-time academy strategy.
Well, we got to address that. We have to address that, and
that's what I bring it up for. Like for the naysayers.
Yeah. Well, let me throw another one out here. I'm gonna throw some gas on the fire here. So here we go. Do you teach practical self-defense, or are you just teaching antiquated stick dueling techniques that don't apply to real life situations? Because that's the problem I deal with. Because people think because you're doing fill in the blank, Bahalana, Doce Pares, Balintuak, Sarada. Oh, I teach good martial arts. Okay, good. All right. I teach good self-defense. Well, what are you going to do? Well, I'm going to do grouping one, or I'm going to do this, that. Are you working self-defense scenarios? Remy Pracis got a bum rap for things because what he did was the art within your art of how to take what you did. He never tried to build Arnisadors or Escrimadors. He tried to enhance people, their self-defense capability through Filipino concepts and lessons. Now, I started as my students start as martial artists with a Filipino theme and evolve to Filipino martial artists. But I'm teaching them practical self-defense that's in Filipino martial arts. But when I see people going, all they're doing is stick dueling, how does that help? It will augment, but how does that help self-defense if that's the only kind of open hand combative you're doing and you're selling self-defense as part of what you do?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Most of the people, like I said, if you're doing, so Richard Smith, who I just friend requested, said he's been doing 30 martial arts, his school 32 years. He's a Taekwondo school with I'm assuming it's an iKali program as an upgrade program. That's great. What would even be better if he shifted from Taekwondo to iKali?
Made Taekwondo
I don't care what FMA you do. I want to see more people. I get calls all the time, and I make referrals and make connections. And hell, Dean, you know about that.
No, I do. No.
Giving you opportunities that I've given other people opportunities.
No, I've made that very known how you give people opportunities, and that's why you're on the show.
We got to look at. I bribed him. We got to look at the big picture.
Well, hey, you can't reveal that. Now, hey,
we do FMA doesn't mean it's practical self-defense.
Hey guys,
there's a difference between real contact and real context. So I Craig Mason is my top Canadian. He is a dog. He'd be a dog brother if it wasn't for COVID. He was going to do his international, but they actually thought he was a dog brother. He fights with the guys. He's nickel dog candidate. All right. He fights with modern Arnis. He can do all that stuff, but he understands. And inside of those people, because I hang with him at times, and I'll talk to them. Oh, I do BJJ. I do Muay Thai. I do Dog Brothers. It's all real. And I'm like, it's real contact. Matter of fact, that was the big thing about the Dog Brothers videos through Panther. Real contact. It's not real context because they're wearing armor. They're wearing helmets and gloves. And when it was a guy from Aftershock. And it wasn't Top Dog, maybe it was Arlen, and they fought. Maybe it was Eric Noss. The two of them fought with no gear, just eye protectors. A 5-minute match, they hit each other just very little because things changed when you had gear. That's not self-defense. That's not real. It's real context, but it's not real context. And we need to apply stuff. One of the problems with schools, FMA schools, if you don't have the ability to teach real context, stuff that'll help people, it's not going to do anything. Not going to do anything. No one's going to have a hunk of rattan. That's why on my wall in my school, may not have been in the photo, I got axe handles and I use them in class because we're not going to be using a hunk of rattan. It's going to be a 2x4, a baseball bat. Now, if you're doing martial art, it doesn't matter. If you're doing martial sport, it doesn't matter. But if you're doing realistic combat, as in things that apply to the real world, but if you're not doing that shit, stop saying it. I've been teaching since 2007. I've been going down to Virginia Police Academy, and I'm an adjunct instructor with Sheepdog Combatives. I'm a civilian consultant. They bring me in because I understand restrictions that they have about. I grew up in a military and law enforcement family. My students are military and law enforcement. I don't teach the military, but I do get brought down periodically to teach at these places because I understand their needs and what the real world is versus this fantasy world that sometimes we sell our students or are sold to us because we drink too much of our own Kool-Aid.
Okay, I got a question here, guys. And this is kind of from whether or not Royce's school constitutes based on what we defined as a full FMA school. And basically, let me just find it here because these comments just keep rolling and rolling in. Okay, so here's what he's quoting, guys. Okay. We're teaching 6 to 7 hours a day, PTK alone, Monday through Friday. Does that count as full-time? We do have other arts, but PTK is our foundation art.
I would say that, listen, there's nothing wrong with a full-time program. And when I say full-time too, I don't want to even say, because sometimes people, they just don't understand how I'm talking about stuff. If he's doing a full-time school and the core is Filipino martial arts, then by God, he's got an FMA school.
All right.
If you're a core in FMA, don't get hung up on the name too much.
We got 8. Royce makes 8.
And yeah, I love the axe handles. Actually, Orlando Screamer just gave me a new one, so it's Jerry.
Who? Who's Orlando Screamer?
That's Eric down there.
In Florida?
Yeah, it's where Chris teaches out of.
I was wondering who that was. Oh, so
I didn't get his last name. I'm sorry. I feel bad. If you're listening, Eric.
No, I'm glad. I was always curious as to who that was.
They're actually looking, and I gave him some business advice on the last time I was there to open up a full-time academy.
Yes, you are full-time. So Royce makes 8. Okay, guys, we're kind of at a transition point here. Okay, so
I've got till 9 at the latest.
That's well. Here, I'm almost thinking this could be because really, what I'm about to, in other words, folks, we're watching. We've kind of gone over the reluctance why we're not seeing as many schools. 8 now, as if we started with 5 when I started the show. But what I wanted to go over now is we're about to segue into basically why we need more of his schools, how to go about it, the positives, the issues, and all that. So what I'm thinking is there's no way we're going to cover going what I want to segue into in a half hour. There's absolutely no way. So what do you guys feel about having you guys give some final thoughts and then the part 2 going into basically why we need more FMA schools, how to go about it.
We know why we need them because we're going to die if we don't. So if you want to do a speed round and then we can do
I'm thinking speed round,
a second episode. I'm down. Ace.
Here's the thing. This stuff is really important to me to keep FMA going, this goal. So I would like you guys maybe to conclude, but I would definitely like to do a second part with you guys. So folks that maybe are hesitant to do this, by the end of the second episode, maybe we can get people that are actually going to go in this direction. How do you guys feel?
We definitely need a part 2. And listen, you could name any martial art. There's nothing that we could say in 1 or 2 episodes anyway that can completely solve it. But here's something that when this replays, we need the comment. We need real world. Like we're also saying things that we think people are thinking. If the people that are watching this, maybe when this is on YouTube, everyone should share it to somebody else and just be like, comment what actually is, if you have a fear, what's your individual fear? What is this? Because otherwise we're making stuff up in our own minds. We're creating a monster that may or may not be there.
Period. Yeah.
Yeah. And maybe we can help a couple people directly with like he said, right? There could be a speed round. There's a hot seat. What's the one thing holding you back? And listen, is that just martial arts and life are basically the same questions, right? At the end of the day, you have to apply it to everything. What's the thing that's holding you back from blank? Yeah. So when we're saying we are fearful for our art to die, that's us. But what's the other person fearful for? What are the things that they're looking at? And by the way, right now, this, like you said, there's so many opportunities right now. I don't have a big facility. Great. I might start on Zoom. I might work with this. There's a lot of people transitioning from what their former career was more than ever before into something else. There are opportunities right now. How many schools in a community are no longer there. And I'm not talking FMA. How many martial arts school closed over the last 1.5 to 2 years?
30% of all schools closed permanently due to COVID.
So some of these communities have had zero replacements for things that they were supporting. And when I say opportunity, why not you? Why not you as a representative? Because somebody else couldn't do it anymore. And it proved that for years that the school that closed, the community needed something. We just need to learn how to do it professionally. It's not just to do it. We're not asking you to do something blindly. We're trying to say you got to be able to get the right tools. We'll share with you tools or let's just call it, friendly alliances of people who really want to see FMA succeed. And not as this little thing, but as this bigger thing. Why can't we compete with other arts? And again, that's a belief thing. That's I'm going to make a decision thing. That's the why not me? Because I could raise my hand all the time and say, why should I have been the one to do any one of the things that I've done in the past? Because the town that I grew up in is 1 mile by 2 miles. Who should care about me? So we all have that. And then somebody had said, you should. All that's ever needed. And if they can connect to the people that your platform has, that's pretty amazing, because now it's not just like their buddy from high school saying you should do it. There are other people in the community, Filipino martial arts community, saying, you know what, you're better than you think. You have great drive, you have this, and you help them out. And then we can do some pretty amazing things from that.
And that's the whole goal. Overall on this channel was, obviously to bring more exposure to this, but then when I started getting that theme episodes, really isolating and dialing on things. And this area to me is just so important, and all that. So this is why I really want to really not cheat this or cut it short. I really want to do a part 2 where we're really focusing how you guys did it. From curriculum, from advertising, infomercials, getting people in the door, how you substantiate growth. I want just all that. And so what I'm thinking is, whatever.
Maybe like 4 or 5 episodes.
Hey, whatever it takes to where folks can feel better about maybe going, doing this, or attempting to do this, or being motivated to do this. I think it's worth it then. So what we have to do is we'll just have to figure out, and I'd like to do this sooner than later. You guys let me know as far as what days work best for you, and all that.
Technically Sundays when I'm in town.
Okay, we could always do during the day too. it doesn't have to be at night. So I want
that be a Datu?
What's that?
Would that be a Datu?
Yeah.
Well, I don't think daytime is going to be able to help the people if they want to do Q&A. I think Sunday's really got to be it, because
we could just make a point to do Sunday night if that works for you guys. What Datu? This next Saturday,
I'll be home Sunday night.
I know, but Saturday though you're
coming up for the seminar as our guest.
And then we're
going to go get a quick bite to eat, then do it afterwards.
All right. So I could just I'll just do 2 days in a row. That's fine.
Yeah. But if you want to do next week, Sunday, I'm going to drive home. I'm leaving around 11. I have to go to Rhode Island real quick, and there should be about an 8-hour drive home. So, actually, I might not be home in time. I can do it remote on the car.
Well, let's just think, because I'd like to do sooner and later to
let me see. What's the 27th look? Okay, no, that's next week. How does the 6th look for you guys?
The 6th?
Yeah.
That could. I don't. Yeah, I definitely don't want to wait too long, because I want to piggyback off the momentum.
That's 2 weeks from now.
Guro Ace?
Sure.
And what you do?
Here's a great thing that you should also say on here. It goes, when you have your own business, like run your school, things like that, you can be able to make your own schedules. That's kind of the thing, right?
There you go. What you guys are doing right now.
It's so, like, to his point, he goes, we can't have it in the daytime because people can come in, because the people who want to talk about martial arts schools, they can't, because they're not martial arts school owners. The flexibility, the time, the amount of time that you can train, all of these things are just benefits of why people who are watching this can or should open up their schools because it allows them to make this more part of their life. But so, yeah, definitely.
So, Datu, if by chance you were to get back early, let's say on is that the 28th?
27th.
The 27th, that being the Sunday. If by chance you did, would that be a willing date?
I think I'd be rolling in at 8 p.m.
All right, all right, no worries.
Let me look. Okay, I've got. Well, let's talk, and let me look up an appointment while I'm talking here because I would rather like to give everybody a definite answer now.
Okay.
For everybody. So, well, I'm gonna start. Let's. Where'd it go? Oh, there it is. I think, we talked about why we need to. I don't think we have to talk about that anymore. Here's why we need to. The arts will die. Now, if you don't give a damn, I don't mean that in a bad way. If you don't care, then it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I don't, at the end of the day, this only matters if you have a vested interest in the arts continuing. Now, to me, and we've talked about this. I've read Remy's will. I've had a copy of it, and one of my black belts was the attorney, and it was unique that he willed it to his students, not his family. But the thing here is, it talks about his life, work, and passion. And like, I've been doing this since I was 19 years old. I'm 56 now, turning 57. I can't let this die. I can't see that go away. That's what drives me. And that's why I help a lot of people when I give them advice and stuff. It's not because I know there's people that are not going to listen. Less than 1% of the population does martial arts. Less than 1%. But let's go to 1. Okay. That means out of 100 people you meet, if you're in a room of 100, you're not going to meet them because you're the one. And the Filipino martial artist is the 1% of that, which means we're 1 in 10,000. Yeah. Wouldn't it be better to double all the numbers, to double all the martial artists, not just us, everybody? If people were like, I have a dance studio in my plaza. They line up out the door for registration. If we could open up martial arts schools of all types, like grocery stores and gas stations and around here, Dollar General, or Tim Hortons Donuts, but if we had that kind of a need, that would be for everybody. A rising tide raises all ships. We need this as a community, and I will not make it home in time. I'm already looking at this.
No. You know what? We'll just go with the 6. No worries. Okay.
But that's why we have to do this. So I don't want to like when we did that one show. It became about money with one of our interviewers. Yeah. This is not about money. This is about, will your art survive the death of its head person right now? That's the question.
Yeah.
Okay. Modern Arnis is on a precedence right now. I don't think it's going to go very well. I think it will get better, but and to what Ace said before, like in our organization, to become a 3rd degree black belt modern, you need teaching credits. And for every degree, you have to produce 2 black belts or 1 second degree for your first black belt, then double and double and double. Promoting people to grandmasters left and right without having any students besides a backyard or basement group doesn't do the art any good. That helps people at the top, but what does that do for its numbers? Because when those people are done teaching, the art dies. That's what this conversation is about for me. Yes, it's about a business but I don't need the industry to provide for my family.
Right.
But I'd love to see all of us go forward.
Yeah, 100%. Guro Ace. I'm gonna know how to open up the second episode, just so all that. But closing thoughts from you.
Closing thoughts. I think this has to be a very, very long discussion that people have to have in their own academies right now. Well, let's not even use the word academies because there's a lack of, right? Okay. To their own teachers, to the few students that they have. See, I'm looking at it from also a different point of view, and I love that Dr. Tim is embracing it. If you don't, the art will die. We need that. That is so paramount. The view that I look at the titling of the Do we need them? Why does it need to be full-time? Is also, it's what we focus on also grows too, right? Because if we focus on those next level students, we focus on those students, it makes us better teachers. You know, this number means absolutely nothing, but to me it does. By having the full-time school, I logged almost 1,400 teaching hours last year. Could I do that without the full-time? So the question that I have for this theme was, do we need full-time academies? And I'm thinking, what are the benefits of that for us, the students who are also instructors? What is the benefit for us? What are the benefit for the community that there's a full-time FMA out there, which kind of, like he says, when there's more, it almost legitimizes it, right? When there's almost none of them and it never grows, how do you justify that? The commercialization says, listen, yeah, because the technology for a phone today is so much worse than it was before. I don't think people can agree. When there's more people involved, there's more people looking at the quality. Otherwise, that would kill the art right away. Some arts might die right away because they're going to say that's not good. But when it's kept really, really small, it'll always linger. Something will be able to foster it to grow and become even stronger. Because if the roots are strong, then we bring it out there and we have more students. They bring their intelligence into the game. They bring their creativity. They understand that context. So that's my closing message with regards to that. Why do we need that? It's more of the psychology of why that happens. Why do I need it full time? Because it allows me to have way more partners for me to grow and train and teach and apply. So the curriculum, you could have the best curriculum in the world, right? But if no one's there to learn it,
yeah.
Now what? So if you put those together, and I'm sure there's more, but if you at least marry those two parts of the concept for the original question and theme, there's somebody watching right now that's getting an aha moment. And they're saying, well, I've been training for the last 10 years, right? I've been training for the last 10 years. But you also hear, is it the number of years or the number of hours? Because if you only do like 1 or 2 seminars a year, what does that mean? If you do 1 hour a week, what does that mean? But if you're able to get into classes and you can give the student an opportunity to be there 3, 4, 5 days a week by having a full-time academy, what happens to that student? And why do they need a full-time academy? Because if we only offer it once in a while at 10 o'clock at night after, yoga is over, then that person doesn't grow very quickly. And when that grandmaster passes away, unfortunately, that student is nowhere near learning what they could have learned because the opportunity was missing, because the full-time school wasn't there to be able to offer it. Yeah. So that's the whole thing. It's like if you had 100 schools offering 100 hours of instruction every month, now you just start multiplying. Now, if you had 1,000 students that had this many opportunities, or 1,000 schools that have 100 students, now how does that grow? So that's just math.
Yeah, exponentially, it's just gonna right. Yeah.
We've got it so much better here because in the Philippines, they really only train 1 day a week. Now they'll train 2-3 hours.
2-3 hours, right?
But they don't have facilities. They train out in the Riddell's the Gux group. I see them all of a sudden. They have to have a rain break and they run underneath trees and stuff to get out of the rain and stuff because that's the way it is in the Philippines. And we oh my God, we have it so much nicer over here. Yeah. So much. I don't want to get into it, but we with all the benefits that we have. We need to take advantage of that, and we need to take it and run and make sure we keep this thing going.
Which is what, folks, this is what we're going to cover next time. Like how these guys went about it, their suggestions, how they did it, their curriculum. We're going to cover all that on part 2. And if we need to go part 3,
I was going to say, I don't know if that's going to be part 2.
If we need to go part 3, we'll go part 3. But we're going to cover everything from top to bottom of how they do it, what they can impart for folks that want perhaps do this and all that. That's the whole goal of this, that somebody out there that gets motivation through listening to these gentlemen that will actually do it. If that happens, then well done.
So is this because when I did this before with you, I didn't see the comments as much. Is this normal comments for you, or do you think this is bigger than normal? Or on average?
No, definitely not average. This is definitely beyond the norm. Yeah, definitely.
This is a good indication. That sounds like people. It's an important topic.
And when I thought of this, I gotta be honest, you two came to mind. So, which is why, remember, when I talked on the phone, I mentioned, can you be part of this, Datu? So
because we both look so good, right there, Ace. I am.
This is where I try and sit higher, so I'm at least at the same level as you.
Oh, there we go. Well, I'm gonna go like this. How's that?
No, but I thought Guru Ace.
Yeah, quick shout out again, just for a moment in time. I really want to thank, my original Filipino martial arts instructor, Amante Marinia Sr., because he laid the groundwork for me so many years ago, which back then I actually went to a Filipino martial arts school. There was a school in New Jersey. So my first class in martial art was a full-time Filipino martial arts school.
Were you classmate of Spencer G?
Classmate, yes, in New York when I'm training in the backyard with. Okay. So that's the whole thing with Matt Marinas. There was a Pananda, there was a system. There was a school in New Jersey, but it was full-time.
Okay.
I'm not going to go into it, but it's not our idea of full-time. You go in there was a pit bull there barking at you, right? But it's all the so
mine has a Rottweiler.
I went in there and I kind of changed some stuff up, right? But I trained with Master Marinas in the backyard. So I kind of got I know what the school is, but this is the backyard. Now, the reason I switched completely through to this being a full-time, because Tuan Apollo straight out said, why don't you? It wasn't like, I felt it to be a statement more than a question. It's like, you're going to do it. And I felt the inspiration of why not you? And of course, I'm like, but there's so many other people that could. Now, for you to say, but you're one of the only schools, blew my mind. Because now I'm thinking, who am I? But now it's just like, I'm just like you guys. And you guys can all be able to do something. You have somebody looking you right now saying, go and make that decision, go do that, and work together. Maybe that's more important than how do you block an angle number one, is how to get this thing started. Because now even more ideas can come about because there's just so many more people involved. So I just wanted to take a minute to be able to thank my teachers because they made all of this possible, because this is the future. And, the last one, of course, is my wife, because my wife is the one who makes it possible. It's the one that allows me to be able to teach 7 days a week and to be able to work on this passion, to work with other people and to extend the family, which is all we're doing right now, is extending our family, right? We're making it a lot bigger. So I just wanted to thank them and all the students who trusted me, because you know what they never did when they came into my school? They're just like, so how long did you really train? Who did you really fight? All those types of things. And I think the quality of our teaching allows us to go over those obstacles. I think when we're questionable in the way we teach, or we're questionable they'll ask you a lot of questions that'll make you very uncomfortable. But when we're around people and we can feel confident, that's what I meant about being resourceful, being able to have answers for people, and really caring about that. That is what's going to push and not let the art die, because part of that art is the passion of the people who want to keep that art alive. If you have a lot of people in the art who doesn't care about the art, it doesn't matter how many schools it has. It's going to have an internal, right? It's going to implode internally. But I think if we all have that, kind of in our hearts of what we really want to do, the legacy will create itself. The people who honestly want to be a part of it will stay a part of that. And the teachers who don't mind being brothers and sisters with each other, right? Let's not talk about that actually want to do that. I mean, that just makes it more solid as well. So, you know what I mean? So I wanted to know that wherever we are in 2022, how many people got hammered in the past because they just couldn't do it. And we have, I'm blessed to do what I'm doing. I know, Dr. Tim, you feel blessed in what you're doing. You reach so many people. And I hope going forward with all of the platform that Guro Dean has shown out there, man, This is the whole thing. I'm trying to tell all my students there's a thing called FMA discussions and go look at it and this and that. Without that,
yeah, the time is, there's no better time than now. I mean, with with all that's going on, as far as, getting the word out there, the groups, having, us having these talks and all that, the resources made available to us. I mean, right. I mean, what could be a better time than not the present, So, but folks, I mean, so I want to thank you guys for doing this part 2, which I had a feeling was going to happen, and who knows, perhaps a part 3, depending on what we get through. So we collectively agreed on March 6th, 7 p.m.
I put it in my calendar.
March 6th, 7 p.m. Okay. So folks, yes. Of course, there'll be a flyer. Definitely, we'll be promoting this, so everybody will definitely know when we're getting on here. But yeah, March 6th, 7 o'clock, which is a Sunday.
I'm excited, looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Drop all the questions that you definitely need.
Yeah.
We already see some people that are like,
I'm reading.
I can see people at home already rubbing their hands. They're just like, let's go.
Yeah, I can't wait. I'm just so glad you guys agreed to do this. And I couldn't think of a better pair than you two. So Datu, I'm going to see you next Saturday.
I'll see you Saturday, brother.
Yeah. All right. And Guro Ace, as always, a pleasure. I thank you for coming on. And I have a feeling you're going to be coming on a lot. So I'll come up with stuff, man. I'll come up.
By the way, anyone watching, just friend request us. I know accessibility wise, there can't be a lot of Ace Ramirez's out there. So if you just look up,
I wouldn't think so.
On social media, you just send us a message, send us to Datu Tim, send it to, just if this is something that you don't want to comment publicly, because I know everybody has their own personal thing.
Yeah. No, I get that. Yeah. Yeah, it's Tim Hartman, and then the underscore it'll be Datu Tim, but don't look up my the fan page, just directly to me. So, and
you guys,
Tim is fine.
I go under Dean Franco or Dim Bronco, depending.
Dean Bronco.
So either or works. And all right. Well, it's been a pleasure. Thank you both, and obviously we'll be in touch. All right, you guys take care.
Maraming salamat, everybody.
Bye. All right, guys. Wow. I thought those guys did incredible with their presentation and their answers to questions. So yeah, March 6th, part 2. Who knows? Maybe it'll be a part 3. We'll see what we get, how far we get into it. But I was hoping it'd be sooner, March 6th. I really wanted to kind of piggyback off the momentum of this, but scheduling. Sometimes you just can't do anything about it, So yes, and if folks who are watching this, if you haven't already, please subscribe to FMA Discussion on YouTube. All the monies that we receive from the channel go to charity. So you're actually not just helping us, but you actually will be helping us give to charity. And generally speaking, all our charitable money goes to children over there, whether it's orphanages or some of the Feed the Hungry, we give to them, and again, anything that's kind of charity related. So by all means, please do that. FMA Discussion on YouTube. All right, thank you to all that watched, commented, submitted questions, and we'll see you. So next episode is Tuesday. Me and Martin are going to be interviewing Guro Min, who's under, I believe, 2 on Phil in Canada. Seemed like a really good guy, and all that. So we're going to be covering that. So that's going to be Tuesday at 7 o'clock. Me and Martin with Guro Min. Check it out. All right, folks. Take care.